The sixth staging of the Race to the Machrie once again saw qualifiers from the Stephen Gallacher, Barrie, Douglas and Paul Lawrie foundations enjoy everything the fantastic Machrie Hotel and Golf Resort has to offer, alongside a very well known face making his debut here at the tournament.
This is the first time I've been to another place, the Machrie. I'm blown away by how good the golf course is, and the facilities here are first class, so it's definitely a place I'll be coming back to. I think it's great for the kids to have something to sort of go for at the start of the year, to qualify to come here. Even the island kids as well. One of the boys finished second last year, and he's now up at Dornoch doing his PGA. So it's an important part. Give the kids something to look forward to. They can goal set at it, because when you come to a place like this, this is up here with tournament standard for me even. So. They're getting a proper treat here. They're getting spoiled here this week, really. This is how good it is.
And so too the Saturday morning golf, where, as Stephen said, some local junior golfers get to test their skills alongside some of the country's best. And William Campbell here was more than up to the task, with his fantastic tee shot on the brilliant 6-hole par 3 course. Also matching the country's elite was Lomond Bell with this putt. The team delighted with their birdie too. But it was William Campbell alongside Erin Husky, Nathan Tate and Robbie Welsh who were the winners on Saturday morning. And so to the Race to the Machrie final, and the first round proper in conditions that were changing what felt like every 5 minutes. Just look at the contrast in the skies above here. Always windy, and with heavy showers, scoring low would be a real challenge. Hannah Unup, playing out of Loudon Golf Club, looked to be coping straight away with this approach, hitting the first green where she would get her par, with Casey Robertson of Nairn Dunbar the only other girl to get a 4 to start the tournament. Holly Mackenzie wasn't having the best of days. This well-holed putt was only for bogey on 5. And despite having the second best round on day 2, she had left herself far too far off the pace to challenge. Up at 12, Erin Husky would get back to 2 over par for her round after holing this tremendous birdie putt. Lovely stuff. But she would struggle over the closing holes to fall down the leaderboard. The youngest player in the field, Stella Walters, was beginning to find her form also on the back nine. This birdie on 12 was one of 3 in a row as she fought to get back to level par, but a costly high score on 17 would see her start day 2 2 shots behind the halfway leader, Hannah Unup. So what about the boys on day 1? Harry Jacks had started well, and a par here at 5 would see him stay at -1 early on, before struggling as most did later in the day. Joshua McIlwain got most of his bad shots out of the way here on the 5th with a costly 9, trying to count them all up there. He would impressively play the rest of the round in 3 under par to finish the day 3 over par and in second place. 1 shot further back was Fraser Walters, helped by this birdie putt on 11. But the players had to try and score while they could in amongst some of the most testing conditions we've ever filmed in. Spectators, golfers and cameramen alike taking shelter whenever they could when one of those stormy showers came in. It really was pretty brutal at times. The strong wind could occasionally help though, like here back on the short par 4 11th, where Robbie Welsh would get his birdie after using just a long iron to reach the green off the tee. He would start round 2 tied 3rd alongside Fraser Walters. But it was last year's winner Kieran Gribble who coped the best, concentrating on hitting fairways and greens, a tactic that saw him only card 2 bogeys in a 2 under par opening round for a halfway lead of 5 shots. Here on 11, settling for par. Day 2 would be drier, but the breeze was still fresh. Back with the girls as Melissa Key tried to close the gap on the girls' leader Hannah Unup. Starting on the 17th, this was her on 18, her second hole of the day, where she would get her birdie as she got back to level after starting with a bogey. Up on the 8th, and there was some exhibition approach play from Group 2. This was Erin Husky's approach. Nicely done over the gap. That was followed in by Louisa Hamilton, who was on her way to finishing in 4th place for the tournament. Another nice shot on. Not to be outdone though, third golfer in the group, Ava Patterson, would also put her shot close to the hole, and she would see in her birdie putt, as did Erin Husky. In the group behind though, it was Hannah Unup who was holding tight to her commanding lead. She was well ahead on level par for the tournament, as she too hit it close. Stella Walters was trying her best to stay in touch though, and would be the only player in the group to birdie the 8th after holing her putt from another nice shot onto the green. On to the 9th though, where Hannah played a brilliant tee shot to help keep her well on top. The conditions definitely a little bit kinder for this tough par 3 on day 2 than they had been on day 1, and Hannah using the contours nicely to roll that tee shot back towards the hole. Melissa Key would match that tee shot here with a fine effort, but unfortunately this was a reload for the golfer from Paisley's Ralston after playing her first tee shot into the rough on the left, where she couldn't find it. She would hole her putt to limit the damage to a bogey, but Hannah would also see her putt home to be 3 under par for her round at this point. And after getting her first bogey of the day at the 11th, Hannah would get that shot straight back here on 12 after almost chipping in for an eagle. Nicely played. So as the final group reached their final hole of the day, the par 5 16th for the girls, Melissa Key and Stella Walters were playing basically for second place. Good power there from Melissa to be pin high after 2 shots, albeit just off the side of the green. Stella would play a nice third shot onto the green, pretty close, but both would have to settle for a par and a share of second place. As Hannah Unup would finish off with a par for a nice 2 under par total for her second round, and a comfortable win to be this year's girls champion for the Race to the Machrie. Back over to the boys now, where Kieran Gribble was looking to be the first boy to get his name on the trophy for the second time, helped by a certain Mr. Gallacher doing his ball spotting duty over the crest of the hill on the opening fairway. Fraser Walters seemed to know he would need to play aggressively if he were to catch Kieran, but was perhaps just a little bit too aggressive here at the par 3 third. Just missing the cameraman to the left with his tee shot. Once again though, Kieran was looking for steady play to stay on top, holing out well here on the third for his par, as he looked to keep that lead over the chasers. Over onto the 5th, Robbie Welsh was 1 over for the day as he played this approach nicely onto the green. He would have to settle for his 4th par of the round this time as the putt stayed out, but all the golfers knew that running up a couple of high scores was a real possibility for anyone, including the leaders, and there was still a long way to go. Kai Lang was 3 under par for his round by the time he reached the 9th, but he would fail to get up and down for his par. He would shoot level par on day 2 to finish the tournament tied 5th. Playing alongside Kai was Harrison Shaw, who would hole out for his birdie on his way to finishing alongside Kai in that tie for 5th place. Back up on the tee, Robbie Welsh was one of many golfers enjoying the better conditions on day 2 to hit his tee shot here close on the par 3 9th. He would miss his birdie putt this time, but he would claim 3rd place in this year's tournament. One shot further back at the end of the day was playing partner Jamie Reid from Carnoustie. Another fine tee shot. He would hole his putt for birdie, but found the going tougher on the back 9, finishing in 4th place. Back on the 8th, Fraser Walter was trying his best to catch up with Kieran Gribble, and he would close the gap a little by holing his birdie putt after this fine approach shot. With the weather still feeling fairly calm compared to day 1, Fraser would hit his tee shot close and set up another birdie chance. Rolling again down the contours. Look at that fantastic shot from the youngster. Kieran Gribble would try and match that with his tee shot, and to be fair, it was a pretty decent effort, also coming back down off the slope, but it would only be Fraser who would get his birdie. Fraser would then birdie the 10th, and after Kieran had a costly double bogey on 11, the gap was only 2 shots as they came down the 12th. Could Fraser pull off an unlikely comeback? Well, unfortunately for him, he'd played himself into trouble on the par 5. That was his 4th shot, leaving himself a lot of work still for his par. Kieran Gribble, though, was on the green on 2 and had that putt for an eagle to stretch his lead again. It was a solid birdie though to get his round back on track, and with Fraser missing his par putt, there was a 2-shot swing back in the favour of the leader. No surprise to see Kieran continue his good scoring though, with a combination of good course management alongside some seriously impressive long iron play, especially into the strong breeze like here on 13, where another solid par would see him gain another shot over Fraser, who could only manage a bogey. Some wins don't need to be spectacular, and you might expect that would be the case this time around, but Kieran Gribble would produce a real moment of magic here on the 444-yard par 4 16th by holing out for a truly brilliant eagle from behind the mound of rough nearly 200 yards back down the hole. Fantastic stuff. After making sure that the moment was captured by a very impressed couple of coaches and organisers up on the green, Kieran would come on to the final green with a 7-shot lead, looking to make it 8 with this birdie attempt, but he would tap that in for a par to secure his victory. Fraser Walters can be proud of his 2nd place though, and how close he was for a while at the start of the back 9, and we'll definitely be seeing more of this young golfer from Craigielaw in the future. For now though, it's congratulations to our 2 Race to the Machrie champions for 2025, Hannah Unup, and for the 2nd year in a row, Kieran Gribble.